This is the Gaming and Mimi Wyckoff speedrun session. And if you're new to my sessions, here are the 3 key items I covered during the session and at a speedrun pace. Okay, I'm not a financial advisor. These sessions are for research and education purpose only, and also for discussion with the asset tech community, including yourself. So let's get started with the very first one. Right before that, I always forget to mention is that this list, the red ones, means they are still in the distribution cycle of Wyckoff, and then the orange ones are at the early accumulation, while the yellow ones are in the mid-late stage of accumulation. So we'll cover these 18 projects in total. So to start with, the very first one, Undead Game. So it's currently still within the distribution cycle. You see this blue text over here, and the orange text are for accumulation. We'll see those in more details later in the other projects. So let's focus on this one currently after a second test. Alright, so 2 weeks ago in early December, we have a second test, and then the price came down. It challenged a level similar to the automatic reaction where the early profit taking took place. It dropped to below 2.08 at that point, at the very first week of December. The second test, the price came down last week, but just barely reaching 2.08. So I wouldn't put this sign of weakness tag over there yet. However, the test is still going on. So you see this week, there's a long wait when the price tried to go below the 2.26 green key level. So the price action would likely develop into a sign of weakness, just that we have to wait for a little longer as the volume slowly climbs. That's going to drive some changes. If you ask about the upside, yeah, definitely. There can be another bounce and become an LPSY before the price descend to lower levels. Alright? Even more positive view is that there is really late FOMO and upthrust in terms of Wyckoff stage. Alright? So these are the 3 possibilities. From neutral, bouncing range bound between 2.39 and 2.61 blue key levels, and then the positive scenario and the negative scenario. Alright? And in terms of daily, previously I talked about we'll get a confirmation by December 27th. We got it. So these 2 days, on the 27th, it challenged both the green key level of 2.26 as well as this bottom edge of the uptrend channel. Alright, and today it bounced quite a bit to above the 2.39 light blue key level. However, we have to take note that the volume, it's not very high. So this climb today, even though the price spread is much wider than the past 10-12 days, the volume isn't supporting the climb much. So be really careful if it comes back down. I already indicated the next chance that this upward channel may be broken will be somewhere between now and January 5th. So within this triangle, this is where the risk comes in, for the coming week. If the bulls successfully defend the this channel bottom, then further into January we'll see another challenge that comes in near January 22nd. Alright, so that's Undead Game. Now let's move to XE Infinity. So AXS is in the early accumulation stage. So it's a point where the selling climax is developing. Alright, it's still within the process, but this week seems to indicate that combining the action last week, it looks like the price is stabilizing at the level that got challenged by the October 10th, the tariff day, is the orange key level of 0.79. What we would expect, or what comes after the selling climax, is an automatic rally, meaning a price movement towards the north side, setting a trading range top for the accumulation cycle. We don't know where it's going to end yet. Whether it's going to end at around the 1.03 yellow key level, or is it going to go higher, between the yellow and the green, because at this point over here, around 1.6, there was quite a bit of overlap trading, and also it's close to where the week of October 10th candle closed. So somewhere between 1.6 and 1.7. Find the automatic rally top over there. We'll have to wait and see. And after automatic rally, there will be more tests a lot of times. Right? Sometimes the test goes lower than the level set by the selling climax. So if we look at the key levels, we've got this red one over here, this 0.39. It's not something that happened in this year. It's actually something that happened back in 2021. All right, right before it climbed to the distribution cycle back then. All right, so we don't hope to see the price to come to test this level, but there's a possibility if capital continues to flee or liquidity continues to get drained outside of the crypto market. In the daily chart, we see these three indicative dates, and we are getting very close to the 6th of January. And you already know these dates if you have been following me. These are the potential dates of trend change confirmation. Currently, XE is still trading along the downtrend. The positive thing is that it's trading on the stronger half of the trend, and it challenged the ceiling today, trying to break out but get rejected. You see this long wick from the top, right? So there are a few more days before it reaches the tip of the triangle, and looking at the volume, it may still take a little while before it gathers sufficient strength to break out. And which, from now to 6th of Jan, there's still around 9 to 10 days that may give sufficient positivity depending on what news come out in the new year, right? So that's for XE Infinity. Next is BONK. BONK, again, similarly, somewhere around the selling climax, about to show up. It's not there yet. Looking at the volume of these the red bars, all right, it may still take a little while before the selling climax actually appears. So if we go to the daily chart, we talked about the December 23rd date last week. Obviously, it has missed the date. However, it's still trading on the stronger half of the downward channel, or the air hockey table. You can visualize this as the puck bouncing between the edges. So I shared that October 10th tested the red key level of 40 with 5 leading zeros, and if it continues to get rejected by the ceiling of the channel, we probably have to wait till near end of Jan to early Feb before it gets to a point where it really breaks outside of the downtrend. This is not a certainty, but it's a possibility seeing these kind of uncertain actions. Very low price spread, a lot of change of hands. The volume isn't particularly low. If you look to the left, it's actually gradually rising. Okay, so when it picks up eventually, and depending on what's going to happen in the next 2-3 days, when it gets very close to the ceiling of the downtrend, if it once start to get rejected like what it did like 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, then it's going to come back to challenge the center line and eventually gets close to the early third date that we talked about. All right, that's for BONK. And then we get to BRED. BRED, it's seemingly stabilizing above the red key level 0.0106. That's somewhere close to where the October 10th tested. And we all know we're going to expect an automatic rally. The tricky part right over here is that do we treat the one 4 weeks ago an automatic rally, or do we not? I tend not to as of this moment, because it looks to be, it seems like it's still trying to get a stabilized bottom laid down. It went up a little, but then it got quite a bit of rejection from the orange key level 0.0230. Alright, if we look at the daily chart, it's actually challenging the ceiling right now as of today. We're exactly on that date now. Of course, we can adjust this a little tighter, but I would rather make it thicker, and just to make sure all the wicks are inside the box. And it's right at the edge of it, not too crazy, because if we adjust this just to align the top wick over here. So currently it's getting a bit of rejection, showing red coming down from the top edge of the channel. This is the short-term support line at around 0.013. Alright, and this triangle we talked about last week. When we get to the end of the year in 2-3 days and stepping into 2026, this is the very first chance that Brett is going to confirm whether it's going to get outside of this downtrend. However, I did say this is a temporary support, which may not be strong enough to support it. Looking at the volume, it's been declining continuously, even on the white volume days. So the chance of it coming back down to test this, at least this dash line, is quite high. Alright, of course, this coming back to challenge the 0.0106 is still within reach, and if that happens, the 9th of Jan is the date we will observe whether it's going to go outside of the downtrend eventually, after bottoming out at the same level that the October 10th tested. Next comes DOGE. And DOGE, looking at where it is now, again, is still on the journey seeking the selling climax. Automatic rally with a price climb to set the subsequent trading range top is yet to be seen. It finally got back to the stronger half of the channel, just to get rejected from the same line that I've drawn previously. The previous support line during late November all the way into mid-December now becomes resistance, and you see the past week, quite a number of days, about 6 days, 7 days, it tried to climb above but still get rejected. And 2 days ago, this high volume kind of indicates that the bulls doesn't want the price to go below the center line of the channel, of the downward channel. So it get pushed up. However, the bears also push back from the yellow key level of 0.1245. Alright, so that's why we see 2 wicks and a high volume. And yesterday, volume became low, but still good, right? And you want to see white candles, not red. However, it's clear that, the day before, yesterday, today, all 3 days shows rejection still from this 0.1245 level. Just that, I guess the resistance is weakening. We see a longer wick today from the bottom compared to the top, and the volume is actually very low. So let's hope that this is really the final day within this week, or within next week, the only day within next week that we see this candle staying below, closing below the yellow key level. For the next week, let's hope something more positive to happen, and by mid of January we'll get a confirmation that the downtrend is finally over and the selling climax sets in that heads towards the automatic rally. Okay, that's the hope. But you can see where the selling climax landed not too long ago. That was summer 2024. All right, and October 10th as well. So that's for Dogecoin. Now we get to Flow. Sorry, not Flow, FLOKI. FLOKI, similar to one of the earlier projects I covered at the beginning of this session, is still seeking the selling climax, just that, you know, last week and this week both with long wicks from the bottom trying to stay or close within the green key level of 412 with 4 leading zeros. The volume this week is lower than the entire 4 weeks before, so it's probably around 70% of what we had over the past 4 weeks. It's not a bad thing if it's stabilizing at this point. All right, not going to as low as what October 10th went to. It's 3 key levels down. October 10th, the red key level is at 145, so quite a bit of distance from where we are now. It's basically over 60% from this point. Is it? Yeah, that's 60. Charts, and let's see the trend. A couple of days back, it's been hovering along the center line of the downtrend. In the past 3 days, it clearly gets above the center line, and it now gets, you know, a bit of resistance from the green key level 412. So this picture is much clearer compared to the weekly, right? When you get in, that's why we see a white cross. This is a very narrow price range. Yesterday the volume started to get higher, and that's some sign that we would like to see further improve. All right, if it successfully climbs above the green key level, we're expecting a trend change confirmation by middle of January. All right, it either goes as a sideways trend or an uptrend from that point, heading towards the automatic rally, or you know, if it doesn't, if it still get rejection from the green, then we probably have to wait till the end of Jan to see that breakout confirmation. All right, so that's the case of FLOKI. Next is Mana, Decentraland. So Decentraland, similar to the other ones, and like a couple of others in the beginning, it seems to find support at the level that the October 10th tested. That's the orange key level of 0.1222, or just 12 cents if you want to make things simpler. However, we do see back in 2020 where it has tested at least the red key level of 0.06. Not that we hope to see it go there, not my base case. I want to see it stabilize at the level where October 10th tested. And if we go and see this kind of U shape, that's the first positive sign. Just that we want to see continuous white volume bars coming in, best if the volume bars are higher, okay, combined with the white candlesticks. And if it really stabilizes along or above the orange key level of 12 cents, then by 25th of January, we would be able to see a confirmation that Mana is getting outside of the downtrend, finally. Okay, and after Mana, we've got PEPE. PEPE, again, exhibiting some sideways trading, yet to show us a price surge to the automatic rally. So the panic may be close to over, just that we need more optimistic minds to go, reach the automatic rally. However, the paper hands, diamond hands test will come after. So it's not all bright blue sky immediately. There still would be a little bit of drizzle afterwards. And then when we get to the daily charts, we see a slightly positive picture, because yesterday, like I said, somewhere before December 30th, we would get this breakout confirmation. And yesterday, with slightly higher volume than the previous 4 days, if we enlarge this, you see the volume has been rising, right? It finally breaks not only the ceiling of the downtrend, but also the green key level. Okay, it's closed below it on the Christmas Day, came back on Boxing Day, and then yesterday. Eventually, in 2 days, broken above 2 key resistances. Today, yeah, we ended up a little bit red, but the price spread isn't crazy and the volume is pretty low. There's still a couple of hours left, and by then, Asia is about to get up. So hopefully south, all right? If it stays consistent above the green key level, that signals the at least for short term, as it doesn't come back into the channel today or tomorrow. All right, so it's a slightly positive sign that we're getting here for PEPE. And for PENGU, for PENGU, here, after a bit of sideways trading, it came down last week, and this week it seems to continue to find support along this yellow key level of 0.0085. So that's why I explained earlier in when I go through one of the projects, while it's going through something like this, don't expect that's the selling climax and an automatic rally that soon. All right, because we're looking at a live chart, and things can still evolve. While it looks like you can plug in those tags, it doesn't mean that those are set in stone. All right. So the October 10th tested the orange key level of 0.0055. I don't hope to see it coming down that deep. Just that back in April this year, the selling climax actually landed even lower at 0.0039. So when we get to the daily chart and look at the trend box or the trend channel, again we see some kind of positivity similar to PEPE. So I talked about previously that by 28th of December, we will get a confirmation. And indeed, there is a confirmation that is showing that it's getting outside of the downtrend, trying to challenge the 0.0101 green key level. Again, similar to PEPE, but slightly better is that, as long as it stays above the yellow key level of 0.0085, it has basically, moved outside of the downtrend. If bad news comes in, or if liquidity capital is still flowing outside of crypto market, it may still come down to challenge the levels that I just mentioned. Maybe the October 10th level or the selling climax level back in April. Let's hope that those bad news doesn't come out when we get into 2026, or at least in these few remaining days of 2025, and it stabilize over here, show us a selling climax at this level, and starts to go show us the automatic rally. All right. Then after PENGU, we have Sand. So for Sandbox, is also going through a period where the selling climax or the panic over will come. It's still not clear yet. All right, it's definitely the volume. You see the volume is dying down. So that's a slightly positive sign. So the volume has been consistently coming down for the red, and we hope to see that continue if it is going to give us a few more red weeks, but we want to see more white, right? and especially white candlestick with tall volume bars like what we see back in early July. Is a big ask right now with the current market sentiments. So when we get to the daily chart, we talk about this December 28th day. That's a very positive scenario, which obviously did not happen like we discussed. And then next is near the end of Jan. If the price successfully climbs above the yellow key level of 0.1260, it will eventually trade towards this time frame. However, if it does come down to challenge the lower levels like it did on the tariff day, we probably have to wait till somewhere near mid-March or the end of the first quarter to see a potential trend change for sand. Okay, after sand we have SHIB. So Shiba Inu, again, after a period of sideways trading, it continued to seek the bottom, at least the first bottom during the accumulation cycle. I mentioned many times, even after the selling climax, there can be lower level tests, during the paper hands time and hands checkout period. So currently, it's trying to stabilize above the red key level of 681 with 5 leading zeros. So this is the level that was challenged by the tariff day. And when we get to the daily chart to check out the downtrend, it's currently trading, or the entire week was actually trading below both the orange key level of 760 with 5 leading zeros, as well as the center line of the downtrend. So it's technically still staying on the weaker side of the trend. While we're still a bit like at least 9 to 10 days away from these dates, starting from Jan 6th, and then eventually 20th of January, finally 9th of February. Those dates are potential dates for this SHIB to break outside of the current downtrend. Okay, the downtrend started right, well, you can say it started somewhere in September. Okay, you see in mid-September it started to come down. Just that the October 10th made it even worse. The rate of decline doesn't seem to have changed much. All right, just that it was declining at a much lower level with a bit of a gap over here. Okay, so that's where it is now in terms of SHIB. And we have width, dog width ahead. So this meme coin currently again seeking where the selling climax should land, and afterwards we'll probably see a price surge towards the trading range top for the accumulation cycle. Sometimes the accumulation cycle ends very quickly, like the one back in beginning of 2025. It started somewhere in February. All right, and then by the time we get to the near the end of April, it already started climbing to a new distribution. So sometimes it ends within a month or two, but sometimes it takes a year or even 2 years. If you have been in crypto for a while, you would know the crypto Ice Age during 2022 to 2024. All right, if we look at the daily chart, currently width is trading along the center line of the channel. Not too bad. Yesterday it got quite a bit, not yesterday, the day before actually, it got quite a bit of volume. Just that its suppression, from this resistance line at around 32 cents 70. Okay, it's being suppressed under this line as of this moment. It's the resistance set by the previous 3 weeks of trading. Okay, if we look to the left, there's also another reference. That's the selling climax back in April this year. So that's why, you don't have to look any further, but, if you want to, there's still references far back in history in 2024 February. So there's still a chance for it to come down to test the lower level right over here at around 22 cents. This exactly was where it was, February 2024. So let's hope it stays along the first white dashed line at around 32 cents and eventually get to the third week of January and send out downtrend finish confirmation. If it doesn't, if it really comes down to test the lower levels like what October 10th did, the very first date would be the beginning of March or end of February, and the next would be near the end of March. So we'll continue to keep an eye on this one. Next, we're getting into the ones that are at mid-late stage of accumulation, and the very first one is APE. And for APE, we see this test still going on, but finally, after 8 weeks of red, we see a bit of white for this week. There's still 5.5 hours left, and let's hope that it doesn't turn into red. If this is really the end of this paper hands, diamond hands test of this round, okay, there can be many rounds in an accumulation cycle. At least I hope to see a sign of strength that comes up with like better volume support to challenge at least the blue key level of 73 cents. Okay, that's where the automatic rally tested, or that's the level that automatic rally set. And when we get to the daily chart, it's bouncing off finally after like 2-3 weeks of testing along the bottom of the downtrend, finally showing some signs towards the north. And remember, there's a resistance at the level around 22 cents that's set by the previous trading, between the beginning of December all the way to mid-December. The first 2 weeks of December set this level. So let's hope the white volume comes in and break this level. If not, then APE would probably continue to swim along this weaker side of the channel, going to test the level that October 10th showed us. That's around 11 cents. Right? If that happens, that's pointing towards the beginning of April before we can get a trend change confirmation. However, if you want a bit of positivity, what does this indicate over here? If the short-term support really does gets broken through, that's pointing towards 21st of February, so much better than April. Still about 2 months from now. So let's stay close to this and see what's going to happen. Next, we've got FARTCOIN. So FARTCOIN over here haven't gone through the automatic rally. Okay, came very close to the yellow key level of 0.446, not really touching it, and then it got rejected, and now the price is trying to climb back to the orange key level. So sometimes the test doesn't go very deep initially. It may be something for later. And sometimes if the timing is right and money does come in earlier, it doesn't really go deep and just do sideways along the middle of the trading range. So this is the trading range currently. So when we get to the daily chart and look at the trends, so we talk about this white dashed line being the support, right? So the breakout finally happened right before this tip of the triangle. That's pointing towards the end of the month. So again, here it's getting rejection from the 0.321 orange key level. Let's hope it's not going to get rejected for too long. The red volume compared to yesterday is more or less the same, so there's still quite a bit of resistance from that level. If it does come back, however, let's hope it stays above this white dashed line at around 25-26 cents, not going back to the red. Okay, it may, but let's hope that doesn't happen. While the downtrend seems to be finally getting over. Next, we've got GALA. For GALA, again, the test seemingly taking a break. The white volume isn't really that impressive. Actually, volume has been coming down over the past 4 weeks. Hopefully that's a sign of stabilizing around this level. If we look into the chart, there's nothing coming down in the history all the way back to September 2021. This is the very low point or all-time low after October 10th. October 10th definitely has set the low at 0.00259, somewhere around that level. Currently is seemingly trying to seek to retest that level. Okay, so it's still trading on the weaker side of the channel. Or that's what we hope to see, at least a change towards the stronger side. If it really finds support and volume, January 20th is the very first date of potential confirmation of trend change coming. Otherwise, we probably have to wait till near the end of first quarter if the price really comes back down to challenge the red key level where October 10th tested. Next, we've got immutable X IMX. Alright, we see a clearer white candle, not a white cross. Obviously, last week and this week, it clearly tested the October 10th level. It's the red key level of 0.221. If this round of tests is really over, let's hope we will see at least another sign of strength, if not straight into distribution. Now currently we don't know whether this is a spring or is this just another test. Alright, if it does break all the way through above the purple key level of 0.950 and continue to go upwards, then that's not a sign of strength. That's basically after the previous sign of strength back in September, the price went into a spring, a very deep test, the mega shakeout, before it shoots to the next distribution. In terms of the trend, it finally, since November 12th, this date, November 12th over here, it finally got outside of the weaker side of the channel and moved into the stronger side. If it successfully stays above the 0.221 key level, may it be just trading a little bit sideways for the next week or two. By mid-late January, we'll get the confirmation. Obviously, it can get sooner when money comes in and timing is right. Otherwise, if the market sentiments continue, we probably have to wait for another 3 weeks before the trend change confirmation comes in. Next, we've got SPX. So SPX, after automatic rally, coming back down for tests, is finding support at a similar level as the selling climax this week. So the paper hands, diamond hands shakeout is going to continue, and this red key level of 0.394 is still something that we hope that it can provide support if the price really comes down to challenge lower levels, because October 10th ended higher than this level only back in the first quarter this year into April, that this price level, this red key level, has been tested back then. So we don't hope to see that, but there's a chance for this shakeout period to go touch that level or even slightly a bit lower. Daily chart is still showing it's getting rejection from the orange key level of 0.520, as well as it's reaching the point where it's got another resistance over there, the center line of the downward channel. You clearly see the rejection during earlier this month, from the end of November all the way into December 10th. It's got rejection from both the center line as well as the green key level. Now it has got to a point, it changed to the orange key level, and then for the next few days we'll see whether it's going to move towards the stronger side of the channel or is it going to stay at the weaker side. If it doesn't move towards the right, then we probably have to wait till the end of first quarter to see a clear trend change confirmation. And last but not least, we've got WEMIX. WEMIX still at the weaker side of the downward channel. From the big picture perspective, it's still going through the testing period where previously there were quite a number of tests already. We've got the panic over stage, and then the automatic rally, and then we've got the sign of strength came in as well. But right after that, there was a very deep second test. That was back in May, okay? Not even October showed us that kind of deep level. So for WEMIX, it's a little bit different. The 0.19, the 19 cents red key level, it may come down to test it once again, even though the red volume is getting lower and lower, and we hope to see it stabilizes along this orange key level of 36 cents. But remember, the daily chart is still showing that it's trading along the weaker side of the downtrend. And while it's seemingly over the past 7 to 8 days is finding support above the orange. When the price first came down around December 11th, it closed above, but eventually it went lower a few days later. So let's hope it at least stays above the orange. If it comes down, just doesn't go below the 31 cents. It can go lower, like I said, but that's our hope, that it doesn't come with high volume, which we clearly see we're going through a very low volume period compared to what happened back in October, November. So that's positive sign towards whether it's getting close to setting a bottom, at least for the short term. All right, so let's hope the U-turn comes in eventually and gets us to another sign of strength, or even head towards a horizontal trading period before it gets to the distribution. So that's all the gaming meme coins that we have to cover today, and thanks for joining me for these speedrun sessions. I'm going to introduce more in 2026, so stay tuned, and as always, thank you for your support.